Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thanks again for listening. My name is Nelson Brown, and welcome to the Beauty in Us Radio. Now, this is going to be a really, really great show for you guys tonight. I have a topic that is going to really, really, really dig deep into our souls tonight. It's about fatherhood, Black men, self-love, family, and the correlation between all of those themes. Now, before I begin, I'm going to share some stats with you about the discussion that I'm going to have tonight about Black dads. There is an article that was written by the Institute of Family Studies, but before I begin anything, I'm going to start by sharing a few updates with you guys. As you all may know, I have been suffering from a few health challenges lately, and I've also been in the process of job hunting, just in case you haven't noticed, or if you didn't get a chance to view my timeline from my recent post, or if you haven't been able to tune into last week's show, I shared with you guys that my job position was terminated at my previous place of employment, and I'm currently looking for another job. So I'm in the process of job hunting, and I've been making calls, and I've been contacting people in my prospective fields so that I can continue to just stay active and work. After 4 years, I've gotten accustomed to the point where I have to work and I have to stay productive. I became accustomed to working at 17 and now I'm 21. So I'm still looking for work. So I encourage you all to just continue to keep me in your prayers. I appreciate all of the love and support that you guys have given me this thus far. We're a month into the show. Of course, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I'm still trying to I'm still trying to get things together by trial and error. So I appreciate that. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit. I'm going to share an excerpt from my book, another excerpt from my book, The Beauty in Us, Vulnerable Masculinity, that was released this year in February, a few days before, well, actually a day before Valentine's Day. And I'm going to read an excerpt from the book, and it's going to be about tonight's topic. It's called Taboo Topics Heal. This is one of the poems that I wrote, and it's actually one of my favorite poems because I feel as though every Black boy and every Black man can relate to this. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. It doesn't matter if you're Black or white. It doesn't matter. All Black men, all Black boys can relate to this in some way, shape, or form. So just sit back and listen. Feel free to listen. Taboo Topics Heal. I'm singing a Black boy's song that hasn't been sung yet. In a Black boy's song, somewhere in this universe, depression is written into his lyrics. In a Black boy's song, somewhere in this universe, fear, anxiety, and abuse are written into his chorus, since generations of men and women conditioned him to think that it was wrong not to be perfect. His heart shatters with each beat every time he thinks he's fatherless. Generations of family secrets keep him stuck, since everyone told him to keep his lips sealed, not realizing that in a Black boy's song, this community needs to understand that taboo topics heal. In a Black boy's song, somewhere in this universe, taboo topics heal his soundtracks of abandonment and rejection and creates a symphony from them, or for them, from God the Father's protection. In a Black boy's song, somewhere in this universe, taboo topics heal his feelings of brokenness and allow his platinum album to be heard. Conversations that are difficult need to be spoken. In order to gain trust, you must be transparent and open. Painful taboo topics that are suppressed drown in drugs and in bottles. Taboo topics and secrets that are hidden will be unhealed if they are unconfessed. As painful as it may be, taboo topics heal. Taboo topics destroy families with the what goes on in this house stays in this house mentality. Tough talks placed on mute will begin to fester and will begin to affect someone's mental state, their sanity. This community must face taboo topics that heal head on, so that in a Black boy's song, his music can carry on, since taboo topics heal. Now, just in case you guys are just tuning in, that was my That was an excerpt from my book, The Beauty in Us, Vulnerable Masculinity. It was released in a paperback and ebook version earlier this year, back in February. And it's the second edition of my book series, The Beauty in Us. The Beauty in Us, Our Reality was released back in 2018, in the summer of 2018. So I encourage you guys to just log on to Amazon and purchase those copies. But I read that poem because it ties into the topic that I'm going to discuss tonight. And it's about Black fathers, Black men, fatherhood, family, self-love, self-concept, self-esteem, all of it I'm composing into one topic tonight. And for the second half of the show, I'm going to have the amazing author and poet Myke Gregoree with his brand called I See God in You. He's a young man who I've been following his work for a while now. And, he inspires me so much. And I appreciate his authenticity and his rawness in the work that he presents and that he displays. So we're going to be having him to talk about his work on the show. And that's going to be for the second half of the show. But for the first half of the show, I'm going to share a little bit of information about the book that I read in the beginning of this year, right before the COVID-19 pandemic and right before all the shutdowns took place. It was called Let Love Have the Last Word by actor, rapper, philanthropist, activist, and entertainer, award-winning entertainer, Common. And it's called Let Love Have the Last Word. I actually listened to it as an audiobook earlier this year. And it's about, it was a memoir that he wrote back in May of 2019. I'm not gonna tell you each and everything that I read in the book, but I encourage you all to read the book for yourselves. And we'll talk about it a little later on in the show. But what I appreciated in the book is his authenticity. He talks about many of the struggles he's had ever since he's been in the limelight. And I appreciate the fact that he was willing to talk about his happiness moments, the brightest moments in his life. And he also reflected on some of the regrets that he had and some of the issues that he continued to struggle with, during the duration of that time, and he talks about family and he discusses his career. And he just, it was just such an amazing book. It was an inspiring book. I always admired him, but it was just my first time it was my first time, reading some of his work, because I had never read any of his books before, and I followed his work, but that gave me a chance to dig deep. Now, there was an article by the Institute of Family Studies. It was written on June 19th, 2020. So this was still in the midst of our global pandemic. It's called Black Dads Matter, and it was written by Kenneth Braswell, Matissa Wilbon, and Stacy Bouchette. And the categories consist of fathers, race, parents, and economic mobility. And they all co-wrote this. And it says, it has long been known that father presence in the household is important for the positive well-being of families, neighborhoods, and youth. Dads who actively participate in the lives of their families provide a steady source of stability and support. The consequences of such impact a whole host of child developmental outcomes, including behavior, academics, and health. Involved fathers are also more likely to engage in positive parenting behaviors like academic intervention and constructive discipline. Promoting responsible fatherhood then should be the focus of institutions as well as grassroots efforts in society. Involved fathers help create well-adjusted youth. What happens, however, when there are impediments to both the presence and participation of fathers in the lives of children, particularly, and listen closely, particularly Black fathers? Conservatives, again, this is the research, I'm reading research. Conservatives often address this question by contending that Black fathers are not adequately present and involved with their families. They push to create policies that encourage marriage among families, particularly Black families, as a way to foster child well-being and success. The success sequence, for example, suggests that individuals are more likely to avoid poverty and be successful if they finish their education, obtain full-time employment, marry, and then have children, in that order. The idea itself seems intuitive and positive. After all, proponents contend that this ordering would create more stable and successful Black families. Critics, however, point out that the success sequence disregards the impediments that individual effort cannot always overcome. As Brian Alexander wrote in The Atlantic, it conveniently frames structural inequalities, high employment, lack of education, high unemployment, lack of education, racial discrimination, etc., as matters of individual choice. This is why removing barriers to structural equality is equally important to the success of families, especially, again, listen closely, especially Black families. Now, I'm going to unpack a little bit of that. And I just want to encourage you all to just, think about our Black dads, our Black fathers in our communities and around the world. And and this is a topic that, really hits home to me because just in case you guys haven't read my book, if you haven't read my memoir, and if you have not had a chance to read, just in case you haven't been able to read my first 2 editions of my book, I encourage you to log on to Amazon and purchase the copies of both books because they go hand in hand. The first book, The Beauty in Us, Our Reality, and the second book, The Beauty in Us, Vulnerable Masculinity, explain a lot about what I'm sharing tonight. And I titled this show A Black Father's Love because I wanted to give everybody else an opportunity to chime in to tell me what that means. And just in case you guys don't know, if you don't know my story, I can explain it a little bit and tell you guys that I was raised by my mom. I was raised by a single mom. My father was absent. And it was really, really difficult for me to learn how to navigate through all of the pain that I experienced as a result of that. And it's just, it's really, really difficult because often when, a parent is absent from your life, or if their presence in some way, shape, or form, if it doesn't, it makes you feel bad if they're absent, whether it's a mom or a dad. So since my father was absent, I felt incomplete growing up. And it didn't really pose as a problem for me until I was about 10 or 11 years old. And that contributed to the reason why I turned to food as a source of comfort. And even though food at the time, it was my comfort, it was also a way for me to self-destruct in a way because I felt like that was the only sense of control that I had over my life at the time. I had mentors that I trusted, and I also had male role models in a sense, but I always felt that because of his absence, that was my fault at the time. And I know that it's not, but it was just something that I really, really struggled with growing up. I always had good grades. I was always the star student, perfect attendance. I was an honor roll student. I did community service. I graduated. I did so many great things. I was always active in sports and in clubs and activities. And it didn't really pose as a problem for me because I thought that, because I was doing so many great things, that the presence of a father or any type of father figure didn't matter because, I just had my mom, and I love her and I cherish her. And this is a big shout out to my mom, Lisa Brown. So when you guys listen to this, please, 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 I encourage you all to just give a shout out to her because she has been there for me through thick and thin. She is watching right now, and she's been watching every single episode since the very beginning when I started about a month ago. But it's just, it was a place, I didn't really see it as a problem until my food addiction started to transcend into my emotional health and my psychological well-being. It didn't just have an impact on me physically, it also had an impact on me emotionally, psychologically, and mentally. I felt as though because I felt rejected, his absence was a form of rejection towards me, I felt. So that's why I turned to food, because at the time, I felt like food didn't reject me. I felt like food was my comfort. I didn't have to worry about it saying no. I didn't have to worry about it letting me down the same way that my absent father did. I didn't have to worry about the fact that it wasn't going to be there for me, during that next baseball game or that football game or that soccer game or that green club, or that cross country meet. It was something that it was a form of emotional eating that really took place. And I went to see a therapist, and I'm currently seeing a therapist now. I'm very open and honest about that, because when I was back in high school, when I first started high school, I went to a therapist, and he gave me a lot of tools and techniques to use in order to overcome that fear of rejection and that bitterness that I harbored for a long time, that my unhappiness. And he gave me a lot of great tools. But now, since I'm 21 years old now, I want more. I know that, in the future, probably 10 or plus years from now, I'm interested in having, you know, I'm interested in marriage and children, but it's also something that I shared with my mom. I shared with my mom that for a while, it was something that I was really, really fearful of, because I felt like I didn't know what it looked like because of the absence of my father. My mom, of course, like I said, she's been there for me through thick and thin. She's really supportive and understanding, and she's taught me, everything. She's given me her all, and she's done so much, and she sacrificed so much, and she works so hard. And sometimes I don't always think that she gets the credit that she deserves. Um, and it was just a really, really, at the time, it was a really, really dark place. I was depressed in the beginning of high school. I was going through suicidal thoughts. I didn't want to participate in any clubs or activities. I was so caught up. I mean, I couldn't see past my own pain. And it was really, really hard for me to bond and to make friendships and to build relationships. And I've grown from that. But now I'm back in therapy because I feel like there are still some things that I need to unpack now, because I want more from my life. Like I said, my professional life is great, but my personal life, I feel like I still have some things to unpack, because I want more from my life, and because the just wanting marriage and wanting children in the future, probably like 10 years from now, definitely 10 years from now, it's just something that I want, but at the same time, I'm fearful of, because the absence of my father is getting in the way. And now that it still bothers me, it's something that I can honestly say that I haven't gotten over. I haven't been the most, forgiving, and I'm really, really transparent. I'm being really, really transparent about that. And it's something that I continue to struggle with. And it's because, it's something that, I harbored for a very long time. And I know that there are millions and millions of other young men that go through this, young Black men in particular, that go through this, trying to figure out who they are, trying to navigate through the obstacles that the world throws at them. Because we, as young Black men who are raised by single mothers, we are taught to just, suck it up and deal with it. We are taught to display that tough, masculine, that form of toxic masculinity. We're taught to act like things don't bother us, and we're taught to sweep things under the rug and act like nothing is wrong. And all of that negativity, all of that anger, all of that sadness, all of that bitterness is suppressed, and it's perpetuated in negative ways in the media, between all of the violence that we see, throughout the media. And it's just something that I've chosen to, talk about in a healthy way. This is a platform that I'm using so that young Black men can have a voice about subjects like this. Because, I mean, I didn't really see, any young Black men doing this. And that's why I'm glad that you guys have given me the platform to communicate this authentically, eloquently, and in a healthy fashion. It's just something that I've always dealt with. Forgiveness is something that I struggle with a lot because of how genuine I am, because my heart is so pure, and I want to trust. My absence of my father is the reason why I had such low self-esteem for a long period of time. And I still do in a lot of ways. And I'm still working through that in therapy. And the absence of my father is also the reason why, I feared, the thought of marriage and children, because I don't want my children feeling the way, I felt about my father. And I know that, and a lot of people tell me, oh, it's just, maybe he was just not meant to be there. God removed him for your life for a reason, and I understand all of that, but it's still the accountability that I'm looking for. Oh, and I've never even heard of, anybody hold anybody accountable. And it's not just in reference to me, but to absent parents in general. In this case, for the topic tonight, absent fathers, and I would look and I would see, um, you know, growing up, I saw a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends with their dads, when they had Father's Day events or when they had donuts for dads, or I would see other boys play ball with their dads. They would play football, basketball, and they would just spend time together. And I felt like I was robbed of that opportunity because I didn't have that. I felt incomplete, and in some ways I still do, and I'm still working on that. And I know that it's still a struggle that I have every single day. It's something that I think about every single day. And I was taught to not harbor negative feelings and to not hold on to the negativity, but it is so difficult. It's really, really difficult to move past that. So I encourage you all to tell me about what you think. And I do cherish the Black fathers that are out there, who are supportive and encouraging, and who are there for their kids in every aspect. But in my case, personally, and I always felt the need to overcompensate. I always felt the need to be better and to be an overachiever, because I feel like he fell down in his job, I feel like I have so much weight to carry. I feel like it's my responsibility now to set that foundation and to leave that legacy and to make that difference. And it's just it is something that I've carried for a long time, and I know that there are millions of men of all ages, millions of young men, even older men, older Black men, younger Black men that go through the same thing. So I encourage you all to just think about some of the things that I've shared. I know I've poured out a lot, but I just want all of us to cherish the Black fathers that are there and who are supporting their children and loving on their families with all of their hearts, with their mind, body, and spirits. But I also want all of us to hold the absent fathers accountable for not being present, and for the reason why, a part of the reason why their children are hurting so much. It's something that you just never get over. That feeling of abandonment, that form of rejection, is something that you'll never get over. You can learn how to grow from it and move past it, but it's something that sticks with you forever. And a lot of people don't understand unless you've been through it. So I encourage you all to just think about that for a minute. I'm going to read a little bit more of this article from the Institute of Family Studies about the Black community and Black fathers. It says that the share of Black children born to single mothers has more than tripled from about 24% in 1960 to nearly 70% in 2018, indicating that Black fathers are less likely to live in households with their children than fathers of other races. But it's important to note the share of children in single mother families among all races has risen dramatically since the 1960s. Moreover, we now know, excuse me, we now know that among non-residential fathers, Black fathers are more involved than Hispanic dads and share more responsibilities and generally co-parent better than white or Hispanic non-residential fathers. Still, non-residential Black fathers face married barriers. I hope I'm saying that right. Hope I'm saying that correctly. But to being stable, consistent support to their children because of other systemic challenges that conservatives often overlook. In a comprehensive forthcoming report, the Blueprint Reimagining, I totally screwed that up. Reimagining the narrative of the Black father. We outline those factors that are necessary for understanding the Black father, such as the economic challenges that stem from having lower rates of upward mobility and higher rates of downward mobility than whites, leading to large income disparities that persist across generations. The economic factors that substantially and negatively impact Black families in real time. When examining the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, many Black families found themselves vulnerable and unable to maintain their households with little to no liquid assets. Now, I'm going to unpack a little bit of that a little more before we take our break. And I just want to ask you guys, um, you know, what do you guys think? What do you guys think that we can do in order to bring our Black fathers together? How can we support them? How can we encourage them? Um, how can we give them a platform to voice their hurt and to tell us about their pain? Because every single brother out there has a story to tell. Every single brother out there has been hurt in some form or another. So I would encourage you guys to just think about it. It's just it's something that is just always imperative for us to do, because everybody likes to stick their head in the sand when it comes to dealing with the root cause of a lot of problems we're facing, especially amongst the family. You know, we have to get back to that village mentality where everybody kept an eye on someone. We all kept an eye on each other. So we have to do that for our parents, our children, our elders, everybody. But like I said, in this case, when we're talking about Black fathers, when we're talking about Black dads, how can we support our Black dads? How can we hold the absent ones accountable so that they can see themselves higher? The ones that may have let an addiction or a substance abuse problem or alcoholism get in the way. How can we encourage them? How can we bring them one step closer to recovery? How can we help them see the light at the end of the tunnel when they feel hopeless? A lot of them, they can't see past their own hurt. And that's what I had to learn. But I just want to encourage you guys to just really dig deep and to just let me know what you think. How can we help? How can we bring them together? How can we do this? Because it's perpetuating in other ways. I mean, a lot of our children and a lot of our young people are so angry. A lot of them come from broken homes. A lot of them feel like no one is advocating for them and no one's validating their experience. So how can we do that? Where do we start? I know for me, I know that I'm starting because I'm in therapy now, trying to deal with that. My perfectionism, my need for, wanting to be perfect and wanting to be that overachiever. I'm dealing with it. I'm starting with me, but I just want to know, how can we do this? How can we bring the family back together? And how can we just give Black boys, our young men who feel like they have absent fathers, and the ones who feel like they don't have any father figures or mentors advocating for them, where they feel as though they can't trust and they can't gain that confidentiality between them and another individual, another male figure. How can we bring that back together? How can we bring that village back together? It's just it's something to think about. It's a really deep discussion, and I'm going to take a break in a couple of minutes. And when we come back, I'm going to have the author and the poet Myke Gregoree talk about his brand, I See God in You, and his book series. And he's another young father that I've been following. Like I said in the very beginning of the show, I've been following him for a while now, and I see all of his work, and I admire him so much. And I really hope that you guys do too. So just, again, feel free to just let me know what you think in the comments below. I mean, this is a really deep discussion. So I can't wait to see what he says, and I can't wait to see what he has to share with all of you guys. It's just something that everybody deals with. I mean, I spent many nights crying about this, just feeling incomplete, not feeling wanted. But I mean, we'll be right back. I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, he's going to hop on here to tell us about his book series, his brand, how he started his brand, and he's going to share a little bit about Let Love Have the Last Word by the actor, the entertainer, the philanthropist, and the rapper Common. So he read the book too, and since I read the book as well, we're going to unpack a lot of that in the second half of the show. So stay tuned, and I will be back. I'm trying to let you guys know in the comments below that I'm taking a break. So just hold on for a second. Okay, I'll be back.
Let me get you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Let's see. A little difficulty. Hold up. Let's see. Can you hear me? Still can't hear you though. I'm trying, man. Sorry about that. Let's see. Echo. I can't hear you still. Sorry about that, man. It's my first time on here. Let's see. You think if I leave and come right back? All right. No. Oh, man. Having issues. Man, oh, man. Really sorry about that, Nelson. Let me see. Maybe if I try logging in on my phone. Let me try that. Give me just 1 minute. All right. Nope. Let's see, man. I don't know. I tried everything that I thought to do, man. Jeez. Really sorry about that. You said you could hear me though, right? Yeah, man, that's crazy. I'm sorry about that. Not sure. My volume is all the way up. I done been through the settings on my laptop and my phone. I'm not sure what's going on, man. Um, yeah, I can't hear anything. I'm sorry. Truly, truly sorry about that, man.